table discussing how to solve the wildlife problem in Angola, which was in a serious civil war that just simply devastated all their wildlife. And we were throwing down ideas, and I said to the guys, well, I think we should have to airlift wildlife back into Angola. Anyway, when this breakfast was over, there was a lady with fairly light hair, tapped me on the shoulder and said, I want to talk to you. And that was Maggie Bright. And a pretty close relationship developed from that day onwards. And she's been out there in Angola with us. Vance was out there when we took some animals out there. And so I treasure the time that we met and the relationship after that. When I heard about this topic, Maggie told me that she said, we're going to have private sector next time, and you must come. I said, no, private sector, I like that, because we do quite a lot of work in the private sector, and I want to share some of the ideas and concepts and intricacies in Africa on the private sector scene. Sorry, it's not on. Just to orientate yourself where South Africa is, it's of course right there at the bottom end. And we're going to deal mostly with that area and some of the countries in the southern part. Yeah, I showed that to some students the other day. Wildlife economics. If we look at the country of South Africa, only 23.3% of the agricultural land is actually high food production. The rest is semi-arid and more suitable for domestic or then cattle and sheep. And lately, well, rather since about 1960, the turnaround came in which it was reckoned that wildlife should do better than the domestic stock, cattle and sheep. And it was really the focus on trophy hunting and not so much meat production that turned this around and was the initial stimulus for the creation of private wildlife reserves. Now, let's see what happened during the next couple of years. If we start at 1911, in South Africa at that point was around about 100 white rhinos. And they gradually grew from 100 and during the next 50 years to about 600. And then in 1960, and I must pay tribute to Dr. Ian Player, who then became very active in conservation and specifically on rhinos. And the next 50 years, as opposed to the first 50 years, where we saw from 100 to 600, the next 50 years, it went from 600 to more than 20,000. And that was largely his vision to spread rhinos out to other reserves, to other places, and particularly also to wildlife reserves, private wildlife, the private sector, so that they could utilize these. And the moment you leave it on private property, there's a profit motive, and a profit motive looks after the rhinos very well. You see some other examples. In 1960, we had